Artificial intelligence is having a bit of a moment, wouldn't you say? Questions loom at the popularity of ChatGPT. But if you want to jump into the field of AI, today we're talking to the right person. You're listening to Business Extra coming from the National's newsroom in Abu Dhabi. I'm your host, the National's future editor, Kelsey Warner. I'm joined today by someone I've wanted to have on for a long time, and I think we've picked the right moment. Professor Eric Xing, the first president at Abu Dhabi's dedicated AI research university, the Mohamed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me here. It's a great honor.
It's really good to talk to you. Before we get into it, I do want to introduce our listeners to who you are. So you said earlier that you don't want to listen to all of your credentials, but you're just going to have to bear with me, okay?
I can close my ear, I guess.
As MBZ UAI's first president, Professor Eric Xing has led the university's growth in fundamental AI research and has led the recruitment of a world-class faculty. You've served as a professor of computer science at Carnegie Mellon University, one of the top universities, if not the top, in the U.S. for AI research, where you also were the founding director of the Center for Machine Learning and Health. You're the founder, chairman, and chief scientist of Petuum Inc., which was recognized as a 2018 World Economic Forum technology pioneer. And you've served as a visiting professor at Facebook and as an advisory group member to the United States Department of Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, aka DARPA. You're a recipient of the National Science Foundation Career Award, the Alfred P. Sloan Research Fellowship in Computer Science, the U.S. Air Force Office of Scientific Research Young Investigator Award, and the IBM Open Collaborative Research Faculty Award. You're a board member of the International Machine Learning Society, and you've authored or contributed to more than 400 cited research papers and reports, which have been cited more than 44,000 times. You are a world leader in the field of AI, and MBZ UAI brought you on back in 2019 to lead its launch. But you're a practitioner, you're an academic, you are thoughtful in this field across a variety of ways and means. So welcome. Thank you for talking to me today.
That's a whole mouthful of words. Thank you so much. Yeah. Honestly, I just see myself as a professor, as a researcher. And, of course, we do admin, we do surveys to the community. But without the hands-on experience of doing R&D, it's very hard to be a good administrator. I have to emphasize that.
So you have to do the research. You have to know the science in order to...
We want to create a culture where the insiders are leading the insiders rather than let the outsiders to take the job. Because, doing science, education, and development is a very challenging and knowledge-intensive task and undertaking, right? So if, one does not have that domain knowledge and domain expertise, but only having generic administrative experiences, unless it is a very mature organization, it is very hard to set the right seat and get the right starting point.
So I want to talk about the university and academia later, but first I want to get into ChatGPT, Bard, the Microsoft, the AI arms race of it all. We're in, feels like a viral moment for AI.
Mm-hmm.
How would you characterize the moment we're in right now and the fervor, the public fervor we're feeling for this field?
You're right. It is a fervor. To be honest, it's a bit surprise, for people in the research trench, to see, such a fervor, because this is not the first time a new technology enters the world stage and causes a disruption. For example, even in my own generation, we've seen 20 years ago the entrance of a Google search engine. Suddenly, you don't have to go to libraries and go very painful kind of copy machines to get documents and materials, right? And going back, invention of the calculator basically free people from doing their daily calculations. I can go on and on with a lot of inventions.
But overnight, or in the span of like less than 2 months, ChatGPT attracted over 100 million users. You're talking about a scale and a reach that is unprecedented in terms of new technology.
That is quite phenomenal. I have to say that I think the wave of ChatGPT caught people's nerve and attention because it was perceived as something that is connecting to the core competence of a human being self, like thinking and intelligence and so forth. But I do want to take this chance to clarify that what has been achieved in ChatGPT, which is quite phenomenal, is about automatically and autonomously writing and also rewriting and maybe polishing a written text. It is a task that was determined to be completed or accomplished by a machine. But that doesn't translate to intelligence. It's just like, you take an aircraft, you fly from somewhere to somewhere. The word fly in this case is used as an experience of getting somewhere to somewhere through aviation. It's not about flying through flipping your wings and and do all the things that a bird is doing, right? So in here, same thing. Language production can be achieved through a human approach, through thinking, composition, rational inferences, emotion, all that. But also it can be achieved without that, or without all of that. In this case, ChatGPT is sitting on the entire universe of text ever produced by mankind throughout history. And we human beings don't do our composition in that way. But the machine, because of its hardware capability, can have that luxury of sitting on all the written information. But nothing less and nothing more than that. It is not sitting on visual information. It is not sitting on many of the facts and the common sense through experience with the environment.
The nuance.
The nuances and many other things. Therefore, ChatGPT achieved something quite amazing in writing and in natural language generation. But we shouldn't draw equivalence of that capability to intelligence. For example, knowing what is said, verifying the source of the truth, or even validating in front of you, explaining in front of you, the rationale of the information and so forth.
So you're flagging its inability to cite its sources and its inability to explain to you how it arrived at its
Yeah, that is already some very, very immediate limitation.
two fatal flaws, two limitations.
Yeah,
Not fatal flaws. They're both. It's going to be a popular commercial product, but
it's really popular. Yeah, I can of course come up with a long laundry list of the inability, that the ChatGPT can clear, and maybe in the future it can, maybe be further improved to take a few more boxes. But again, it is still not equivalent to intelligence. It's a different thing.
So for the office you sit in, does Bard, which is Google's answer to ChatGPT, to Microsoft's Bing, all the rest, does this actually catch your attention? Does this change the flow of your future, or is this?
Oh, it does. For example, with the use of Google, it made me a lot more productive. In terms of sitting on top of information, gathering information, and also, for example, making sure that I cite the right papers and so forth. And also, when I go to somewhere to travel, I would Google and find restaurants and find routes and the travel plans and so forth, right? So they definitely deliver a very, very important function, and it does change my life.
It changes your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily change the curriculum of the university, but it will change your personal life.
It also changed the curriculum of the university, I believe, in the future. Because, for example, if traditional homeworks and assignments can be achieved through ChatGPT, for example, I think the university will positively act on it and redesign our assignment or evaluation on the students. I think it is a very positive movement. You have a tool that can do things maybe better than what humans are supposed to do. Then you would reposition the human being to do something else that is more interesting. Right? Just like I don't think right now it's interesting to ask a student to do like a calculation, on their paper or in their brain. You can use a calculator, but people could be tasked to use the calculation to design, the next move and to make a better judgment, in their daily life, for example.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first headlines out of the ChatGPT popularity was the concern that it was going to lead to mass cheating, like plagiarism was going to be a huge issue, and robot-generated text was going to be an upender of traditional education.
That's true, but on the other hand, that's not the end of the world. It's just like, you have, you have machines which run faster than human being. You still have the Olympics, right? So people, have their own games. People don't have to game against a machine when machine can do it better or can be, a alternative. For example, when we say cheating, it is defined in the context of a traditional context, articulating what is cheating, defining what is cheating. But for example, in the past, you're supposed to become your own librarian and go to the library and get a good book and so forth. That was considered as a skill in the past for students. And nowadays, we no longer request that because you can Google it. It's totally fine, right? So, but you can do other things about synthesizing the information and maybe build your next innovation and the workflow on top of it. That was considered as a new skill after Google. Now, after GPT-3 and ChatGPT, I think there is a big space for educators and for employers to define the new skill space and then reevaluate and reassess people's performance in that new space rather than in the old space. So that's kind of the way I see it. I think it's very positive that ChatGPT can do some of the mundane work. Of course, I do have a concern, which is there isn't really right now an agenda or an idea about what to do with the production out of a ChatGPT. Many of the invention are providing a service, but they don't leave a trace in the society or in the environment. But some do. For example, in the past, we use, say, chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Now we don't use it. Why? Because you use it to achieve a good goal, but they stay there and they actually contaminate your soil and so forth. Here, there is a risk of ChatGPT is what to do with the content. These content are produced by machine, okay? And it will be staying in the cyberspace, in the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And sooner or later, because of the high productivity of ChatGPT, it may dominate
Just the
the
level of
entire content.
output.
Yeah. Imagine in a future world that 95% of the content are actually produced by ChatGPT. We need to ask, are we comfortable with that? Or we are fine with that? That's something I think civilization, mankind need to ask and have an answer. Maybe it's fine. But this is going to kind of suffocate inventions like ChatGPT itself because it is trained on human-produced material and text. So as of now, but if in the future the entire cyberspace are just littered with or filled with ChatGPT or artificially generated content, then how that machine itself gets trained is becoming a problem, right? So there is a convergence point or maybe a saturation point where you have nothing to train on in this particular platform. Maybe you need to look for something else, maybe adding visual information or change, another job, to train on.
That's a really interesting risk that I have not yet heard
I don't hear
about.
that very
I
often.
haven't heard it come up very often.
Yeah.
All right, so it's something to pay attention to. So MBZ UAI, the university where you are president, graduated its first class last month, the class of 2022. 92 graduates, 20 with a master's.
No, 52, sorry.
52, sorry.
We were very excited about the numbers.
Fact check. 52 graduates.
Mhm.
Sorry, I misread. 28 with a master's in computer vision, a strand of AI that trains computers to understand the visual world, and 32 in machine learning, which is a field that trains computers to mimic human intelligence. So 52 out into the world. The majority of them are staying here in the UAE to either pursue further research or go into jobs. Can you talk about just the moment they're graduating into right now and what the job prospects were for this class?
I don't have the exact numbers in my hand because it is changing. The students are still on job market and they are interviewed by public and private sectors here. And also they are trying to prepare their next stage in advanced education, for example, entering a PhD program. So the number are still fluid. But as you said, they will be mostly staying in the UAE to pursue their next career move. I'd like to say that this group of talents are very unique compared to what we see in the past because they are trained at a graduate level in this new discipline of AI, namely computer vision, machine learning, as I mentioned. Next year, we're going to also have natural language processing people. And their level of skills is, I would say, quite phenomenal. They really can be a game changer when they are placed in the right place, to shine. For example, if there is a industry or a particular team looking for people to develop a ChatGPT-like kind of a solution or something downstream, to offer additional services, for example, turning the ChatGPT into an Arabic, version of a language exchange and a conversation. These are the people to go to, to really ask for support or development, right? So I think it is a bi-directional play. On the one hand, the university is producing talents of high caliber to take on advanced, R&D tasks. But on the other hand, we also need to have a industry or a ecosystem that is able to consume these kind of talents. So in a sense, the university is at the nexus of this junction. We are trying to also not only produce talented students, we are also trying to help startups, high-tech companies to find their fit here, to really establish a regionally and locally grounded, industrial and economical developments.
It's a massive needle to thread. It's an ambitious target to.
It has to start from somewhere. We are very proud that we have the opportunity to offer the service in that way.
Yeah, and I've heard you speak before. You've talked to me about this before, of really wanting to put the UAE on the map, that there are global powers that are so far ahead, the US, China, Israel, in terms of attracting talent, developing these private companies and a huge amount of value from artificial intelligence capabilities. It's an arms race of sorts. And
it is, yeah. Although it is not that scary. There's always this anxiety that just like every athlete when they enter the Olympiad, you will always feel nervous. But you have to start from somewhere and enter the race. And to set a goal high is very important because we need to have a high enough ceiling to really ground the ambition and also to set up a plan. Because if you aim low, you will get even lower results, right? So on the other hand, we need to be very realistic and pragmatic in delivering the results. I would say the arm race of AI isn't as scary as people thought, that we are just hopeless, lagging behind. Because this entire science is 50 years old. It's not like mathematics and physics and so forth. You have hundreds, if not thousands, years of history of build-ups, and you sit on a thin ground. Here, we actually are standing on the shoulder, the giant's shoulder. Thanks to the widespread adoption of internet technology, search engines, and also the globalization of trades and the people exchanges. So in a sense, the game is very fair and open. I almost see that the UAE has an advantage compared to many other regions for being more open, to be more aggressive and ambitious, and economically stronger. So in a sense, I don't see a huge disadvantage, but I do see a lot of opportunities in here.
Opportunities. Can you talk a little bit about what industries in particular are being targeted? The university definitely is looking at partnerships. Where are you finding partnerships? Where are you finding possibility in industry here?
It's actually very, very difficult to enumerate all of them. There are many, but I do want to make sure that we have a focus. For example, this year is the year of sustainability, for UAE. It's a no-brainer that it is opening up not only, a national responsibility for the global society, it's actually also an economic opportunity, for the country and for the university. Because in the business of sustainability, you see, clean energy industry and logistic optimization and planning and transportation, smart city. There's a whole plethora of businesses that can be improved using AI technology and data-driven technology to bring the environmental, the environment to a better state. Right. So that's where the university has been already, working very, very intensely on. I can actually point out two specific directions that we work on. One is AI as a solution to environment, where we use AI technology to enable better decision making, better planning in extracting and using and transporting the energy. But the other side, which is less mentioned, is that AI as part of the problem of environments. Because, for example, training ChatGPT, how much money you have to spend to train that? People don't even say that.
Microsoft is spending $10 billion.
That's the total investment. I think even operationally, just to train this ChatGPT engine, once cost tens of millions of dollars, right? And you need to do it very often. Yeah. For example, Google search engine needs to be refreshed almost every day to reflect new results. Likewise for ChatGPT. So this is an expensive business. How to reduce the carbon footprint? How to reduce the hardware infrastructure and the people investment on that itself is a sustainability issue. You want to make sure that in solving problem using AI, your solution shouldn't be more expensive than the problem itself. Right? So these are basically the space we are in to really position AI as a problem solver and also as a responsible solver that conduct itself to be more economical and efficient. Another space I have to mention is the space of healthcare, because again, that is really very intimately, connecting to human well-being and also societal well-being, right? I think the entire space of healthcare is entering a AI phase, because now we are talking about precision healthcare. We are talking about lifestyle optimization. We want to really lower the kind of the barrier of people taking care of their health without resorting to necessarily, a big pharma and big hospitals to be standing by on a daily basis. Because first of all, it is also very expensive and unsustainable. And secondly, with the advancement of science, people start to realize that the old hypothesis of one drug killing, treating everyone and treating all diseases and so forth, or one drug for one disease, that kind of hypothesis is probably need to be revisited, because every individual is different, right? Their body, anatomy are different, and their environments are different. Therefore, you can imagine the treatment and the medication should also be more personalized. So this is a massive new paradigm where, data-driven decision-making become kind of imperative, to help the doctors to arrive at those more personalizable, more customized decisions quicker. Right? So we see the future of entire spectrum of healthcare, starting from drug discovery, diagnosis and treatment and the disease prevention, pandemic control, and maybe early warning of pandemic and so forth, to be looked holistically through, in fact, that's where the GPT technology can be more interesting, because they are very good at processing large data better than a human. And in my opinion, that's a better place to see apps like ChatGPT to exercise their power.
I've read, ChatGPT really needs to exercise its power in the places like not on our college term papers, but on the big existential.
Exactly. There are better places for us to see such power.
So what's the invitation? You're in the middle of an admissions cycle. I just want to wrap up here to talk about the school and what prospective students.
Yeah, well, thank you for offering this opportunity.
I'll give you the opportunity.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sell it.
We are in the middle of the recruitment season of 2023. We look for, ambitious and hardworking and curious, graduate applicants from all over the world. I want to emphasize, the school are open to the entire world, not just to, say UAE nationals or regional, residents, right? We want to build a very open and international environment. Therefore, applicants from all over the world will be reviewed carefully and also will be providing the opportunity to compete. But on the other hand, we do have a very high standard. We do expect the applicants have a passion for computing and programming, have knowledge in mathematics, and also, more importantly, have this drive and a curiosity to learn new knowledge and solve real-world problems. Computer science is different, from many other disciplines where you could stay comfortable without touching upon real-world problems. I think AI and computing is unique in that it is kind of rooted in fundamental theory, mathematics, physics, and other natural science, but also it is facing society and facing real-world applications more closely. It's actually a great thing, because you can see the bridge to deliver you a result during your quick kind of a graduation cycle, and validate your impacts, and maybe even accordingly push for further impacts through your work. So I do invite students from around the world to
apply by April when?
technically, the cutoff date is April 15th. But on the other hand, we are a small and a young university. I want to make sure that we have the capacity to be flexible and to be more personable, so that if applicants need additional preparation, need to have supports from the university, please do write to us, and we will try our best to accommodate your need and give you the fair opportunity to be appreciated and reviewed.
It's fun to talk to you, Professor
Thank you very
Eric.
much.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Sure, thank you. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
That's it for today. All that's left is to thank our production team and you for listening. See you next week.